Okay, new problem. Now when I clicked on camera, I'm moving the whole view.
Challenge brought to you by RenoMetaGroup.com. Good evening, race fans. Welcome aboard for the fourth round. Almost got behind here. Fourth round of the Canadian Sim Racing Series. My name is Steve Ovens. We'll be on the coverage here with you tonight alongside my good friends Todd Lewis and Dave Bradley. Todd, I'll bring you in first here. Tell me about this race course. This is going to be a lot of fun tonight. 14 corners, 4.36 kilometer road circuit here. It's relatively flat, but boy, is it tough on brakes, and does it give these drivers some possibilities for passing.
Well, see, Steve, yes, it will be a fun one. There are a number of really good passing areas at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve on Ile Notre Dame in Montreal. It is a beautiful course. It's a spectacular venue. There are opportunities to pass, as I mentioned, in a number of different areas. Corner 1, corner 2, in towards the hairpin, there's an opportunity to pass. And there are some other areas, depending on how bold the drivers wish to be as well. There are also a number of trouble areas around the track. I mentioned corner 1, the hairpin we've seen people get into trouble with, and also the infamous Wall of Champions. Dubbed the Wall of Champions in 1999, when 3 former Formula One world champions each hit the wall to end their race in 1999. So there are places for a great opportunity. There are also points of great peril on this beautifully challenging track in Montreal.
Dave Bradley on the broadcast with us here tonight as well. And Dave, I think just as we saw at CTMP last week, I think that tonight's race, I think we're going to see that level of aggression, and I think we're going to see the patience level wear thin quickly for some of these drivers.
Yeah, and this is one of those places that patience does wear thin, and it wears thin very quickly, because if you're not a comfortable road course racer, you may overstep your bounds a little bit. You may see it as a mistake, but the person getting the bumper in front of you will see it as an attack, and that's where patience will come in. There will be retribution, paybacks throughout, and there's plenty of opportunity for that, because it's very high speeds and then very tight corners nearly at both ends of the circuit. So there is a lot of opportunity to make a really tight pass, or even just, think, I could make this hole if I just lay a bumper to somebody and do that. So there's those opportunities as well. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a patience game today. Who can sort of keep their cool the longest? And that's going to play a lot into the equipment as well. Preserving those brakes, preserving those tires, because this is a track that is very, very hard on braking, because again, those high-speed straightaways and those tight turns.
Coming into tonight's event, we are entering round number 4, and after picking up 2 straight wins on the series here, picking up round 2 at Charlotte and picking up round 3 at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, guys, Alex Labbé takes over the points lead coming into tonight. He has a 4-point advantage over Raphael Lessard. And Todd, that's one of the stories that we were talking about amongst ourselves here before coming on the air tonight. Raphael Lessard qualified in 14th tonight. He's going to be about mid-pack here when we take the green flag tonight.
But as we have seen, Raphael Lessard has plenty of speed, he has plenty of talent, and has a way of finding his way toward the front of the field as this moves on. It will be fun to watch him move from 14th on the starting grid to try to get up towards the front. He'll of course be paying attention to where Alex Labbé is, where Michael Morley is, where Trayton Lapsevich is, where Blake Reinhardt is, because those are the top 5 in points along with Raphael Lessard. So you'll want to keep apprised of your competition. As Dave mentioned, though, if you are too aggressive too quickly, you will burn up the brakes and not have anything left for the end. Patience will be important, and if you are patient and let some of the attrition take over, you will have yourself a pretty good finish at this track tonight.
Qualifying fastest here for this evening's race was Olivier Bedard in car number 96, who timed in with a time of 1 minute, 39 seconds. And David, that's a driver who we've seen have to qualify through the last chance race. Of course, everybody qualified here tonight. All of the last chance drivers transferred through to tonight's main event. But Olivier Bedard, we saw get into some dust-ups, we'll say, with some of the drivers last week in some of those instances where we saw drivers get aggressive and lose a little bit of patience. But for Olivier Bedard, it's going to have the best view out of anybody coming to the green flag tonight.
Yeah, for sure. And this is the place where you want to be. Now you have the ability to control this race. And Olivier Bedard is no stranger to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. He's raced here several times behind the wheel of a Formula 1600, Formula Ford, I believe, as well. So he knows this place well. But you're right. He was at the center of some controversy, you could say, at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park just 1 week ago. In one instance, getting together with Trayton Lapsevich and then coming down the front straightaway. Might have lost his cool a little bit and got into another little dust up there. But when you have clean air in front of you, now you can control the pace. You can make sure that you hit your marks early, get into that rhythm early on, and not burn up your stuff. So Olivier Bedard is in the place that he wants to be right now.
Taking a look at the starting lineup here, a driver that got off course and had some trouble as they bring it around here to take the green flag. And look, we've got trouble already here, right in the opening. Couple of sets of turns here, guys. Wow.
Oh, yeah, that's the trouble we talked about off the start through corners 1 and 2 in the Senna S. Olivier Bedard punted from behind, got turned around, spun around, and knocked around, and he has fallen back in the field, and they're still wrecking, as they say, making their way through corners 3, 4, and 5 now.
I think that was Alexander Labrosse in the 72 who went for a wild ride early in this race. But yeah, as we were talking up that Bedard was in the place that he wanted to be, obviously somebody thought that he shouldn't be there and gave him a little roughing up into turn 1. If you notice too, our points leader was also involved in there. Alex Labbe in the 36 was able to keep going, but obviously with some damage to that.
Oh, guys, Kevin Lacroix, who had problems at CTMP last week, just got spun in one corner, got it back going, comes down into the next corner, and Lacroix for the second time in one lap, and now has heavy front-end damage on the 74. I thought maybe tonight would be an opportunity for Lacroix to kind of bounce back here as we watch Trayton Lapsevich with the lead, but Kevin Lacroix, Todd, for the second week in a row, tough luck here on the road courses.
Boy, yes, it has been frustrating for Kevin Lacroix to get through. It looked like as though he might be able to sneak through that initial incident going through corners 1 and 2, but then got bounced around a little bit and gets put towards the back of the field. But Trayton Lapsevich, how about the youngster tiptoeing his way through the carnage at the front of the field from 5th on the grid, finds his way through and finds himself out in front now, which is exactly where you want to be. And it'll be interesting to see if the youngster can manage it with Blake Reinhardt, who seems to be closing on him a little bit now.
Yeah, I was going to say Reinhardt too. He does have some damage to the back end, but have another look at what happened in the 74 of Kevin Lacroix, and you can see it is so tight here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. There he's alongside Alex Labbe, and I think that's Morley up on the outside, but they're all sort of going around, and he just gets in. Did Morley touch him to go around?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I think he did, and then Raphael Lazard, another one of those drivers up in the points who was looking for a good clean run here today, also involved in that incident. So, wow, if you're up at the top of the points chart, then you have trouble this week.
And it's interesting to note here, guys, I think our race leader, Trayton Lapsevich, he might be one of the only cars here in the top 5 that doesn't look to have any damage at all. You see Reinhardt trying to chase him down with the right rear quarter and spoiler ruffled up just a little bit on car number 12, but Lapsevich, man, he's in a great spot right now out front, trying to keep that nose clean, and while everybody else around him was wrecking, he was driving away to the lead.
Smart move by the youngster, just took his time, got it through, and now finds himself out in front of the field. Blake Reinhardt running in second, and right now you've only got a couple of laps in. Settle down, get yourself composed, and try to get into a rhythm. That's what these drivers up at the front of the field are going to want to do, as opposed to slamming your way through the chicane through 13 and 14, as we see Olivier Bedard doing, trying to make his way back through the front. You want to try to settle in, get into a bit of a rhythm. It is a rhythm track that it is hard on the accelerator, hard on the brake, but if you get into a comfortable rhythm, it will take you a long way at this circuit.
It's almost like a super speedway and a short track kind of balled into one here. You have the high speeds of a super speedway, but you have the tight turns of a short track, and you have the aggression of a short track as well. So you see a lot of banged up race cars, especially in the early going here. Now they're stretched out, it's a little bit easier, but you tend to see drivers up on the wheel as you get Olivier Bedard, who was stomping his way back up through this field. He was fast, obviously sat on the pole, and now he wants to prove just how fast he was.
Talking about some of the characteristics of this race course, gentlemen, as you see Bedard, wow, what a set of skills there, as he was sideways, heavy on the brake there, entering that turn. But guys, one thing that strikes me differently about this track compared to what we saw last week at CTMP was, this track is very technical. It has high speed zones, just like we saw last week. But the one thing that I see differently here is the elevation change, or lack thereof, here of what we're going to see tonight.
It's a public park. It's sort of a city street. It's sort of a city street circuit, but not really. The roads are not used really except for public park activities on Ile Notre Dame, and it doesn't have changes in elevation. You go across the bridge to get onto the island, and it is very flat from there. So you do not have the same off-camber type corners that you had at CTMP, but it is no less challenging with some of these tight turns and some of the hard braking that you must get on. As we saw Olivier Bedard, who was smoking the tires occasionally as he was going and trying to slow down for some of those corners. It's a bit early to be that aggressive. You don't want to be that hard on your equipment this early. It will come back to bite you in the end, as we're getting a look at seeing how quickly you can turn the car around just by yourself coming through the hairpin. If you get on the accelerator too quickly, you'll turn the back end around and the car steps out on you, Dave.
Yeah, and for Senchak being that far off line in the hairpin, he tried to go in side by side. He really should have backed off and let the other driver go through, because when you're out there in no man's land, there really is no grip. I mean, it is a one-lane run through that hairpin, and that's exactly what he found out. He got back on the gas. There's just zero traction out there. But for Raphael Lessard, who came out of the hairpin, and all of a sudden there was a car crossways in front of him, he had some quick reaction to do.
So Trayton Lapcevich continues to lead here. Took the lead on the opening lap when several cars within the top 5 had some trouble right in the first couple of sets of turns. And Lapcevich, who started this race in position number 5, right now leads as we complete lap number 4, coming up on lap number 5. And guys, Lapcevich comes into this race 5th place in the standings, just 32 points behind Alex Labbe. It's been a strong run for Lapcevich so far on the series as a whole in these 3 races that we've run already, and really starting to show his stuff here early on in this race, still with 38 laps to go.
Could be the opportunity.
It's almost a little surprising. Sorry, Todd. I was going to say it's almost a little surprising to hear he's down in 5th spot in the points, because we have talked about him in every single event so far. He's been running up near the front. He's had a couple races where he's found trouble, but he has been a contender this entire run, so you'd think he'd be at least in the top 3. He'd be down in 5th is a little surprising.
But finds himself up front, and perhaps this is the opportunity, with Alex Labbe having his troubles at the start and Olivier Bedard slipping back behind him, and Blake Reinhardt and everyone else behind him now. Maybe this is the opportunity that Trayton Lapcevich will have. But as you mentioned, it is still very early in this race, and we will be watching some of the others who started deeper in the field, and even those drivers like Alex Labbe and Kevin Lacroix that had difficulties at the start, provided their cars aren't too damaged, they'll have the opportunity to come back through the field. I've been watching a little bit as some of the other drivers deeper in the field. Raphael Lessard has moved into the top 10. Daniel Morad started way at the back of the pack, and he is up to 25th already, has avoided the trouble, and he is a very strong road racer. It's going to be interesting to see how much progress he can make as the evening rolls along.
Yeah, it's cool to see Daniel Morad take his turn at one of these Xfinity cars here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, because you know he is a talented driver in whatever car he gets into. Obviously, a veteran of the open wheel world with Formula BMW under his belt, A1 GP back in the day, and then of racing in Europe, and then coming back to Canada and in North America and racing sports cars for the last several years. But definitely a contender and a very fast driver, and a very fast virtual driver as well. He's been doing a lot of iRacing lately, and he's been doing very, very well at that as well.
Just ahead of where Daniel Morad is running right now, a driver that we saw have a nice run last week at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Alex Ellis, one of the drivers right now, a candidate for the Right Choice Auto Sales Hard Charger Award. Started 34th, currently up to position number 14, and boy, had a moment there coming off the corner in car number 39.
It's funny how many times you'll say that to yourself through a lap around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve as, oh, that's a moment. As you can see, Alex Ellis is trying to continue his march forward and successfully doing it. A little pressure from behind, and he finds himself moving a little bit further forward in the field. Stay smooth, give yourself plenty of braking room, don't over-abuse the brakes and the equipment in this early going. Even these corners, there's not a lot of slowdown. You'll blip the accelerator going through, but you are still very hard on the cars going through. It is a high-speed course through the back part of it, and then you start to slow down for that hairpin, the slowest part of the track, and you try to stay off the car in front of you, keep it tight, and then back on the accelerator to wind it back up. And yeah, there will be a little drafting that goes along in a few high-speed parts of this track as well.
But did you notice the steering wheel position and the hands of Alex Ellis as he went through that hairpin? It gives you a perfect visual of just how tight that turn is. I mean, no other track that we've seen to date will you see the steering wheel get turned that much. It gets rotated nearly all the way around, almost to steering lock, before he can get back on the gas and get through. It's such a difficult turn.
Wow, a very aggressive move there for Ellis going into the corner, and he will complete the pass there as he gets by the Jean-Philippe Bergeron machine, and that's going to take over position number 12. A very impressive move there for Ellis, who is carving his way through the pack. And it's, Todd, it's always intriguing to me to watch some of these road racing specialists. You can always tell when a guy is rather comfortable on these road course circuits, because a lot of these guys that are comfortable out here have no problems and no qualms about using the curbs to make a little speed.
And that's the balancing act that you go through, is you have to use the curbs. They will help turn these heavy cars at the right point, but you don't want to overuse them. See, very gently, just a little bit on the curb. Now he's avoiding the traffic ahead of him that got a little too aggressive into the corner, and you move your way through. You will use the curbs at times to help turn the car and get it through a corner or through a combination of corners. But if you are too aggressive, you will find yourself in trouble and off course very quickly. But yes, it's the balancing act of being aggressive but also being smooth through different parts of the track.
Alex Ellis right now is the seeing eye dog for Caden Lapsevich. You see, Ellis is making all these holes and making the passes, and Lapsevich in the 76 is just behind him, and he's following through. So it's funny because Ellis has a banged up front bumper, and Lapsevich, you look at the 76 car, it is pristine right now. He hasn't had to touch anybody, so Ellis is doing all the dirty work for Caden Lapsevich, who is having a fantastic run. He started way down in the 32nd position, and I believe if he isn't in the top 10, he's very close right now. He was 11th, I think, the last time through.
7th right now on the scoring, and that's the smart move of a young racer still, even though he is a NASCAR Pinty Series champion, taking the opportunity to learn. He is not a road racer in the same way his dad Jeff is a road racer, but he is also taking this opportunity. Let the car ahead of you help create the hole, as you mentioned, and find your way through. Use the traffic ahead of you to your advantage. He's also saving his equipment in this manner as well.
Yeah, he's trying to drive smart too. You saw him take full advantage of those curbs in trimming the turns just a little bit, make it a little easier on those tires. You do have to be a little bit careful. You don't want to get too far in there and really upset the car, because as Todd mentioned earlier, if you do take too much of the curb, it can really send your car for a loop in an awful hurry.
Trayton Lapsevich, your race leader, coming down pit lane here. First pit stop of the day for car number 32, as he will bring it down the pit road, and pit road speed here this evening is 40 miles an hour. So Trayton Lapsevich coming down pit lane here, lap number 8. We are coming up on the stage break at lap 14, but these guys not able to make it that entire distance, Todd. So they will bring Lapsevich's 32 machine down into his pit box for service here. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of strategy they go with here. I imagine, and it will be 4 tires and fuel here for Trayton Lapsevich as he makes his first pit stop of the day.
Oh, yes. Take all the tires, take all the fuel. This is the opportunity. You're out front of the field. Take advantage of that position. Do a smooth service stop, even if it takes a little longer. You want the fuel and tires at this track.
Yeah, this track is notoriously hard on tires as well, whereas CTMP you could cheat a little bit and maybe take 2, or in some instances you could take none and maybe hang on depending on how the race played out. But here at here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, it's a little bit more abrasive and tends to wear out the Goodyear Eagles a little bit quicker.
That's Caden Lapsevich now, the older brother of Trayton, who seems to have found a little open space on the track. And he doesn't seem to be pushing that car too hard at this point, and just seems to be riding around in a very comfortable manner. He just seems to be making a smooth lap. I don't see him really pushing the car as if he's trying to make up any ground at this point. And again, it's not necessarily a bad strategy, but I think Caden Lapsevich has done a remarkable job, as we talked earlier, following Alex Ellis and allowing him to make the holes that he's been able to cruise through, and seems to be on his way to a pretty good drive so far tonight.
Yeah, and he did assume the lead during that round of pit stop, so expect the 76 to come in this time. And here he's going to make me look like a hero as the 76 of Caden Lapsevich finds pit lane in for his service. So maybe looking for that opportunity to race on a clean racetrack in front of him, put down a good lap, and possibly gain some ground through this round.
Did he go a lap longer, too? And that's the other thing, is did he go a lap longer than some of the other drivers? Will that play out a little further along? If he can go an extra lap each time, and it proves that the tires aren't worn so severely that he can still maintain a good lap speed and go a little bit longer, maybe that plays to his benefit as the race moves along as well.
It's a really good point. I mean, you're just learning, too, right? You're trying to build your book of knowledge in the early runs here in this race, because you know there's still a lot of laps left to be completed.
So after that round of pit stops was complete, Trayton Lapsevich reclaims the lead. Aboard the 32 machine, Blake Reinhardt will hold on to position number 2, but guys, not far behind him is the 96, your pole sitter here this evening, Olivier Bedard, who is trying to close in on Reinhardt here for the 2 spot.
That's a nice bounce back from Olivier Bedard. He got bounced around in corner number 1 and 2 a couple of times and fell back a number of positions. He was pretty aggressive in the early couple of laps. He was squeezing through there. He was
Still is aggressive.
And oh, look at that! Just got taken out because of the 12 car and the 96 both just having their difficulties making their way through. But Bedard was really aggressive, trying to make his way back towards the front, and it doesn't seem that he's tempered any of that aggression as well. And now he tries to pick up the draft, and he's not going to try this move at the chicane, is he, Dave? You wouldn't think.
He might. Now he's on the wrong side, so he's going to have to cut back through. And will he try it? This is his opportunity. No, he's going to try and put together a run now for turn 1. But that was a good heads-up move by Blake Reinhardt there to maybe take a defensive line.
Yeah, nice little squeeze there as Bedard is going to make his way through in corner number 1 now. Reinhardt tried to squeeze him, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to hold on to the position unless he can keep him pinched down as they go through 3 and 4 and begin to accelerate. Still side by side. This fight is not over yet, but looks like Bedard is going to, yes, successfully take the spot.
And if you're Reinhardt, I mean, the 96 has really closed the gap on your back bumper. I think you're probably best just to sit in his wake and maybe try and learn a couple things and quicker ways to get around this circuit, because the 96 is obviously faster. It was just a matter of time before he was going to get by.
And he knows the circuit so well that you're undoubtedly going to be able to go to school a little bit if you follow along. Maybe adjust your line a little bit and be able to keep up with him, and the two of them can eventually run down Trayton Lapsevich, as Bedard is still hammering on that curve pretty good.
This track is truly a test of wills here so far. 11 laps into this race, and it, at times, guys, it seemed like a high-speed game of chicken here tonight.
That's the way it goes sometimes. If you're going to be aggressive, you want to put yourself in a position where you can make the move and capture the position going into the corners around the track. And Olivier Bedard has done that. He's starting to leg out a little bit of distance now between himself and Blake Reinhardt, and he will have his sights set on next trying to run down Trayton Lapsevich, the leader, since the second corner after we had that contact on lap number 1, and a number of drivers wound up falling back a number of positions. And Trayton Lapsevich inherited the lead, but Olivier Bedard now seems to have his sights set on.
Now, just looking at the running order and where they all sort of settled out after that first round of pit stops, it doesn't look like staying out an extra lap really helped or hindered the 76 of Caden Lapsevich. He was out behind Alex Ellis when that round of pit stops started, and that's where he sits right now. So after everybody came in to make their stops, it sort of all filtered out, and everything remained equal. So having old tires for that extra lap didn't really hurt him too much, it seemed.
Michael Morley, who's currently running in the 4th spot aboard car number 6, just had a little bit of contact with the lap machine as he made his way by aboard the 6 car. He's got 2nd and 3rd just ahead of him. And Morley, who got involved in some of those early race jingles after starting on the outside pole here this evening, has worked his way back up to 4th here after pit stops. And Morley trying to put a nice run together here aboard the 6 machine, who comes into the night 3rd in the standings. His best finish on the series was 2 weeks ago at Charlotte.
And this could be, again, like we said, for Trayton Lapsevich, this is an opportunity for him to improve his position in the point standings as well. Alex LeVay well back in the field, running at 31st now, so that's going to provide a big shakeup. And Michael Morley was just 12 points back from the lead in 3rd position in the overall standings. Currently running in 4th. Maybe there's the opportunity to improve a little bit further as the race goes on. But again, it's an opportunity to gain some points before we head into the final event of the season next week. And these guys seem to be content to run right nose to tail right now and just kind of make laps in the middle portion of this race. And there's Raphael Lessard, who has also climbed up a little bit from the start. He's certainly been in the points chase with just 4 adrift now of Alex LeVay, climbing from 14th at the start of this race and moving up into the top 10.
Yeah, and we ride on board with Will LaRue, who's having a quietly solid run this evening. Started in the 10th spot, still in the top 10, running 8th right now, but having a good run. Again, the car's in one piece, in decent shape. He's got a little bit of damage to the back end of it, but pretty much everybody does after that first turn skirmish.
Raphael Lessard is leading that train and starting to put a little bit of space between himself and the other 2 cars that are in pursuit. We talked a little bit before we started that he had difficulty qualifying, but plenty of talent, plenty of ability, and it's probably just a lack of road course racing experiences that the reason why he's having a little bit of a challenge qualifying. But once he gets into the race conditions, as we saw last week at CTMP as well, he has no problem finding his way towards the front of the field.
And that's the thing, is road course qualifying is a little bit different than oval track qualifying. But when you don't have a rabbit to go and chase, it sometimes makes it a little bit difficult, as looks like Will LaRue is trying to put a move on. It's going to be a little bit ambitious in through the hairpin there, but if he can diamond back in, he's not going to. So they'll run single file down the back chute here. But again, qualifying on a road course, if you don't have somebody to chase, if you don't have sort of a mark to catch, then it does make it a little bit difficult, and it is something you learn over time. The more practice, the better you get, obviously.
So Trayton Lapsevich leads here as we are coming up on the stage break here. Stage number 1 going to be coming to an end, and Lapsevich has taken lap 14, but the stage break does not come until each car has crossed the line here on this 14th lap. And Lapsevich, boy, he is really getting everything out of that car here coming to the stage break.
Yeah, you wonder that there's no real challenge from behind, that Trayton Lapsevich may want to just throttle back ever so slightly, as you know that the caution flag is going to come out and slow things down. Maybe you just want to ease up a little bit and save that equipment for a little bit later on in the race, but he shows no signs of that right now, even though he's not really feeling any pressure at all from Blake Reinhardt from behind.
Watch him in through this hairpin. Hard on the brakes. Hauls that wheel all the way over to the right. Then he gets back on the gas, and you can see a little twitch of the wheel as the back end gets a little bit out of shape, and then hard on the gas for this long straight.
Boy, impressive to see, Dave, just how much wheel input they have there in that hairpin, and not only the wheel input, but you've got all that wheel input into the car to make that turn, and then you got to get right back on the gas once you get it straightened out.
And that's the thing, is you have to be so good through that hairpin because you need that speed down the straightaway. A little mistake at the end of that hairpin is going to cost you probably 10 miles an hour at the top end of that straightaway. So you want to be good, you want to be clean, getting out, getting the power down, and setting sail down that back chute, or else you're going to get eaten up.
Trayton Lapsevich continuing to make his way around the circuit now and rolling along smoothly without any pressure from behind. That's a lap car that he's just gone around. And Trayton Lapsevich just continues to cruise along. Interesting to see how he's doing out front. It just doesn't seem to be anything that's bothering him. Seems as though he's almost running absolutely his own race, and also seems to be running a very quick pace and very comfortable doing so. And it is going to be interesting to see in the second half of this race if anybody really has anything for Trayton Lapsevich. From all he has shown in the first part of this race, there is no one who has been anywhere near the class of Trayton Lapsevich in this early part of the early going.
The biggest problem that Trayton Lapsevich will face is this gaggle of race cars right in front of him. These are some of the issues that he does not want to contend with. A big group of lap-down cars, and now he's got to work his way through because they're mixing it up as well. They may not know the leader is coming through. And as you saw, a big puff of smoke, obviously they got together just ahead of him as he was coming through. So Trayton Lapsevich has got to be very, very careful right now.
When you have 4 or 5 cars like that, the tight chicane back and forth, yes, he can afford to be patient without the pressure from behind, but he has plenty of pace to start making his way through and maneuver through these cars. But again, when you're going too wide through corner number 1 until the last minute, yeah, you want to take all the time you can to be patient. There are 4 cars ahead of him that are much slower and don't seem to have the pace, but there is no need to really push the issue right now. In fact, as we have gone to that stage break and everything slows down just a little bit.
Yeah, so that came at the right time for Trayton Lapsevich for sure.
Certainly did. Stage number 1 coming to an end here, and Trayton Lapsevich, your race leader here after the first stage is in the books, coming here on lap number 16. It was actually lap 15 to 16. The other stage break will come around lap 28 here, and we will follow your leaders here as they prepare for the second, what we anticipate anyway, Todd, to be our second round of pit stops here.
I would think that after pitting around lap 9, you will take advantage of this yellow and make a pit stop now. If you don't, you're only going to be able to go another lap or maybe 2. So you should probably take advantage of this yellow to make a pit stop. And again, if you're Trayton Lapsevich, you have been the class of the field. Give yourself plenty of time and room to go in, be smooth, make the stop, make sure that you get full fuel and get the 4 tires that you're going to want, and then find your way clear in pit lane. But it has been all Trayton Lapsevich in the early going. This has been a really impressive run by the youngster.
Yeah, for sure. After being much like a ninja working his way through that first turn skirmish, now he's done everything absolutely right, but he hasn't gone that easy on his race car, so he'll be in desperate need of 4 tires during this pit stop, because we saw that thing moving side to side as he'd get hard on the gas coming out of the turn. So he was using up those tires, and he'll be happy to get some 4 fresh ones during this pit stop, I would think, anyway.
And interesting that he's not really slowing down or letting the field catch up to him either. He's trying to give himself lots of room to make his way into pit lane and get every advantage he can. There was an interesting shortcut that some.
I was going to say, that's one way to catch up. Just cut the corners.
Well, I think they're trying to gather the field back up a little more orderly before they open pit lane, and Trayton Lapsevich looks like he's trying to keep as much of an advantage as he can. There's the pace car, and I suspect that things will tighten up a little bit on the back part of the course.
Yeah, for sure. The pace car will bring him back down to a proper speed here before we make pit stops. And you're right, bunch the field.
Well, let's get a quick word here with your winner of stage number 1, Trayton Lapsevich. And Trayton, we want to get a word quickly here before you make your second pit stop of the evening here. But tell us about this first stage. It looked like it was really taking care of business here in the 32.
It was a hectic one for sure. I dodged that first corner crash, actually, and since then, I've just sort of been buying my time. I've had a little bit of a gap underneath me, so I was trying to keep the car on the track, and I succeeded for the most part so far.
Did that first lap incident kind of catch you by surprise? I think it definitely caught us by surprise.
We were kind of expecting something to happen. That's a tricky first corner with these cars, so if there's no give there, then there's likely going to be a crash.
So how do you handle it after pit stops and on the restart? Try to gap the field as best you can?
Yeah, it's trying to get clear as fast as possible. Trying to make I'm just gonna settle into line on the restart, buy my time, because we still do have one more competition caution. So I'm just gonna try and survive till then.
Well,
can you get any more out of the tires and maybe roll the dice on a longer stop if you have?
Yeah, I could have gone about 2 or 3 laps longer if I wanted to. I pitted because the cars behind me were coming down, and I felt it was best for me to pit as well.
Thanks, Trayton. Good luck the rest of the way here.
Yeah.
All right, guys, you see him here on the screen. Trayton Lapsevich, your race leader, coming down the pit lane, and it looks like the remainder of the lead pack cars will follow suit here. So 40 miles an hour, they head down pit lane, and Trayton Lapsevich coming down for his second pit stop of the night. And guys, we anticipate another 4 tires and fuel stop here for the 32.
That will be the expectation for everyone. 4 tires, fuel. You will need them to get through this. As you can see, this is a hard on the tires and hard on the equipment circuit, even though you don't have the elevation changes. The curbing, the braking zones, it is very hard on the equipment. Trayton Lapsevich, service complete. He will leave pit lane first and take over the lead, and he will be in control of the field when they return to green, exactly what he wants.
Yeah, and important for Trayton Lapsevich, a problem-free pit stop as well.
Now, guys, a story that we will cover after this commercial break here. Dave's got some great words from our sponsors here presenting tonight's action.
Tonight's race brought to you by Stone Ridge. Let Stone Ridge Specialty Insurance protect your racing assets with liability and off-track coverage for race teams, sponsors, competition vehicles, tools, and equipment. Call Stone Ridge Specialty Insurance today. By LaCroixTuning.com, the proud title sponsor of the Canadian Sim Racing Series. LaCroixTuning.com is the place to shop online for your wheel, suspension, and tire needs. We can even ship you tires mounted on wheels right at your door. By Storewall.ca, shop at Storewall.ca for all your garage storage needs. We import and sell premium wall-mounted slat wall storage solutions for home and business. Our complete line of products provides everything you need to efficiently organize and store items in home and commercial space. And by Chez Gerard Patat, proud supporter of motorsports for the last 20 years. Gerard Patat wins the race for best fries, hot dogs, and puts in Quebec. If you ever come by, make a pit stop. You won't.
And thank you very much to all of those great sponsors presenting the action here tonight from the Canadian Sim Racing Series, coming to you live from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here, where, guys, a story that I wanted to touch on here before we go back green flag racing here. Todd, the 36, our point leader coming in tonight, Alex Labbe, has had some challenges. It looks like he's going to get back onto the lead lap here, but he was a lap down coming to the stage 1 yellow flag.
Yes, and that's the difficulty that Alex Labbe endured right off the start of this race. He, along with Olivier Bedard, endured contact in corner 1 and got spun and turned around and had some difficulty and got set back deep into the field. And now it's going to be recovery mode for Alex Labbe. That 36, he's going to try to climb as far forward as he can. He was the points leader coming into tonight's race, but only by a small margin of 4 points over Raphael Lassard, who's found himself in a pretty good position, climbing from 14th into the top 10. But Alex Labbe is going to be in recovery mode, try to gain as many positions as he can. 28th as we check the scroll going through and we get set to go back to green. He's got a lot of work to do tonight to try to stay in that points hunt.
Yeah, it's easy to lose positions here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It's difficult to gain them back. But for Alex Labbe, you know, he's a talented road course racer, a talented race car driver. And he'll just be sort of settling into a rhythm and just sort of set his sights on the next car and the next car and the next car and just try and get back as many spots as he can.
And as we get ready for the restart here, guys, we'll get a quick look here at your Right Choice Auto Sales and Service hard charger candidates here so far. We talked about him earlier in the race. Alex Ellis started 34th here tonight, currently up to P9, coming back to the restart. Been a good run here for Alex Ellis, trying to charge toward the front, and he is now just behind the drivers that we saw up toward the front of the pack. Bertrand Godin, Blake Reinhardt, Trayton Lapsevich. He is in good company here coming back to the restart.
Absolutely is, and that looks like it is going to be the 96 of Olivier Bedard who is going to lead the field back to green once again. We'll see how well it works out this time for Olivier Bedard as he gets lined up and the pace car starts to get away from the rest of the field, and we'll see when Bedard, and I don't know if they're going to let him jump that far ahead, but he kind of likes it right now with a lot of space between him and second place.
Yeah, that's a pretty messy start, because you look at the field back behind Morley, and they're all messed up. I think he was just trying to get some heat in his tires by spinning off of the hairpin, and everybody thought he was going and wasn't sure what he was doing, but now they're sort of getting things all squared away again.
Yeah, this looks a little better now, but coming out of the hairpin, it was pretty messy, and that pace car has stayed right at that pit road speed to sort of keep the field bunched up together. But now, it looks like we're still going to have a number of drivers make their way through, and Bedard, though, seems to have himself in pretty good position coming through the chicane to accept the green flag.
Coming down this front straightaway here, we are coming back to the green flag. Green lights are back on here as they complete lap number 20. Again, our second stage break will come somewhere between laps 28 and 30, so it's going to be a little bit of a shorter run here. But guys, look at Trayton Lapsevich getting aggressive early here on the restart.
Yeah, and it looks like Bedard did get through. Michael Morley was challenging, though, trying to take over the lead. And it looks like he's successfully gotten around Bedard now through corners 3 and 4.
That's a big move by Morley to get around somebody like Olivier Bedard on this circuit. Under that restart, Bedard didn't have any issues as he did during the initial start to this one. But look, here's where the tricks come out from Olivier Bedard. Watch where he finds a passing spot where nobody else might see one, as the 96 looks to make room to get back up to that top speed.
It's funny off the start, Dave. You want to be on the inside for corner number 1, but corner 2 in that S comes up so quickly, and then you find yourself on the outside part of the track, and it's a difficult balance of which side of the track you choose for a restart like that.
Indeed, and Morley got a little bit crooked, and he's lost now 3 or 4 positions. But you're right, Todd. I think you almost want to start on the outside of turn number 1 to give you that preferred position for the tighter turn number 2, because if you're on the outside in turn number 2, you're going nowhere but backwards.
So Morley and Reinhardt will battle for position here, as Morley, who led that last lap by, will now surrender that lead over to Olivier Bedard in the 96. Trayton Lapsman. Oh, look at Morley, really got a lot of the curb in that turn, and Reinhardt is going to go on by, and Morley, if he's not careful, guys, has got the dogs nipping at his heels here.
That is a tough corner to get bounced around in. Those curbs are very severe through 13 and 14. That chicane that leads you out onto the front straightaway, and Morley took far too much curb and paid the price for it. And now Olivier Bedard is feeling a little heat from the 32, and it'll be interesting to see how these two go head to head as Trayton Lapsevich is trying to put all kinds of pressure on Olivier Bedard.
And Bedard is feeling it. You saw how crossways he got. Coming out of that, and here's Morley, and again that curb is built up there for a reason so people don't cut the corner, and I think Reinhardt might have caught the wall of champions as well on corner.
What a battle up front here for the top spot. I think Trayton Lapsevich, if he didn't catch a little bit of it, got awfully close to a guardrail as he was battling hard here with Bedard for the top spot. He was able to keep it straight and keep it pointed forward, but boy, some close calls here with these guys for the lead. They're racing hard. They know the next competition caution is coming up here relatively shortly.
And you saw the experience of Olivier Bedard getting through the hairpin smoothly and tight and off onto the final straightaway before the chicane and getting a good launch. Trayton Lapsevich was a little wide there, didn't get as good a launch, and Bedard has put a little bit of space between himself and second place. This will be fun to watch, and whether or not the youngster has learned and whether or not he can follow up and learn some of the tricks that Olivier Bedard obviously knows about Circuit Gilles Villeneuve and how to get around there quickly.
Looking big picture too, if you're Trayton Lapsevich, you have to think about just keeping your nose clean. Sure, you want to win this race and you want to give Olivier Bedard everything he can handle, but you want to do it cleanly. You want to keep the nose on that race car because big picture, you stand to gain a lot of points here.
Todd, how much is Trayton Lapsevich logging notes right now following the 96 and kind of going to school here?
That's exactly what he should be doing. Olivier Bedard knows his way around the track. As he has been able to charge from deep in the field after getting bumped around at the start, has found his way back up to the front of the field. Trayton Lapsevich still trying to stay close, still trying to be aggressive where possible, but he should also be looking at how Bedard approaches certain parts of this track. His line is a little bit different than that of Trayton Lapsevich, and there are things he can learn to improve his craft around this track. See him go just a little bit wider there than Olivier Bedard did. That will cost him a little bit of track position and a little bit of distance between himself, and now Bedard is going to have to negotiate a back marker. Maybe this is the opportunity for Lapsevich to close up.
It looks like Bedard just caught, and I think it's Schweikert in the 1 at the wrong time, just on corner exit, but it really hasn't hampered his forward movement too much. The 32 unable to capitalize. Now he'll tuck in line, try and catch that toe down this straightaway and into turn 13 and 14. Schweikert goes through the runoff area, so he'll have to slow down and let the 32 go by. Is Bedard down pit lane?
Yeah, Olivier Bedard is down pit road here, and I think, guys, what we're seeing here is we're seeing a couple different strategies play out here, because I don't believe Bedard made a pit stop there on the first competition caution of the evening. So Bedard now comes down pit lane, 40 miles an hour to pit box number 1, and your driver that started on the pole here this evening, 4 tires and gas, it's going to be for Olivier Bedard.
So how is this going to play out through the second half of the race? Bedard will have to make one more stop, but it will not be during the other competition caution, the other stage at lap 28. Will that play out in his favor at the end? I don't know. This is going to be an interesting one to watch, that whether or not he can essentially make it on one more stop is what he's going to do, it looks like, to try to make the 42 lap distance. I'm interested to see if that strategy will play out. I'm not sure it will.
Yeah, I think for it to work out, you have to have a full course caution, and we've now gone 23 laps of 42, and you haven't seen one yet other than a competition caution. So I think the loss of track position is just going to be...
We were watching here in your picture Bertrand Godin in all sorts of trouble here in the 77 machine. He was in the second spot when they crossed the line last time by, but Godin has lost all sorts of track position here in the 77.
Now it's going to benefit Michael Morley, who allows him to move up, and he'll be the one who's chasing Trayton Lapsevich now. And again, both an opportunity for both of those drivers to improve themselves in the overall championship standings, with Alex Lebay further back in the field, staying out of trouble. We talked about it at the start. That's going to be one of the keys to success at this track. It will find you in so many different ways.
Yeah, and Bertrand Godin just got in a little bit too hot, and he locked up, didn't go all the way around, but just enough to kill his momentum, and look at the field come and chew him up.
And as slow as he came through there, guys, I have to imagine that he had to yield a certain amount of time for going off of the course there, because he was very slow as that field caught up to him. As now we've got trouble. Morley in the 6, contact with Godin. They had a little bit of contact with John Schweikart in the 1 machine. And now a big problem has gone even bigger here for Godin, as he's going to lose all sorts of track position, as well as Morley in the 6.
Oh, and when you get off track, sometimes when you return, it's tough to find the rhythm again and pick it up. And it looks like Bertrand Godin's troubles have gone from bad to worse, and he collected a whole bunch of cars there. And look who it's benefiting: the 32 of Trayton Lapsevich, who once again is out in front of the field and not feeling any pressure. As you have a look at the replay, yes, it becomes very clogged very quickly, and then around they start spinning. And 4, 5, 6 cars all collected in that one incident.
One car that I saw sneak through there, guys, was the 76 of Caden Lapsevich. He made a pretty nifty move through the grass, as we have a peek at a car hitting the pit lane here on lap number 24. 24 laps in the books here, 18 to go.
I'm not sure if it's one of the... Oh, it is Trayton Lapsevich, so your race leader down pit lane, getting his service ahead of that competition caution. So, yeah, he wanted to maintain that same sort of rhythm as he had the last time, so this is really a scheduled stop for your race leader.
I kind of like this move, Todd, because you saw how big a lead that Trayton had before he hit the pit lane. Maybe that was part of the strategy. These guys having so much trouble behind him, he got out to a nice gap, a comfortable enough gap, that he thought now was the time to pit and kind of work this race backwards.
Absolutely. Why not? Get in, get your service done without any pressure from behind. You can have a nice, smooth, and even stop and get back out. And where you come back out on track is going to be a key part of that. Where do you recycle into the field, hopefully without too many lap cars around you, hopefully without too much traffic around you, and then again, perhaps splitting the strategy towards the end, stopping before the competition caution, hopefully to have track position work out in your favor later on.
And another note here, Dave, too, is when we get to the end of this race, Olivier Bedard, I would have to imagine, is going to have to pit again. But, in the case, maybe, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think these guys could go that far. But, if they're going to try and do that, Trayton Lapsevich has got a little bit less laps on those tires than Bedard does.
Yeah, here's another leader coming down pit lane, the 23 of Justin Arsenault. So lead changing hands once again as the regularly scheduled pit stops cycle through. But I think you're right. I think Bedard is going to have to make more stops. And although he was able to go a significant distance further than anybody else, but we'll see how it plays out. I still think that stopping the way Trayton Lapsevich is stopping during this race is probably the better strategy. But we'll have to wait and see. Look at Daniel Morad. He started way back in the field, all the way back in 38th position. And the Moradness number 70 is now your race leader. Hats off to him.
That's the 76 of Caden Lapsevich, who's behind him, and also seems to be looking that he'd like to be in front of Daniel Morad. But nice run for Daniel. We talked about him a little bit, Dave, that yes, it's going to be interesting and fun to see him and how he maneuvers his way through the field. Hard to tell exactly where he is on pit stop strategy. Haven't seen him yet, but this is a nice run for Daniel Morad in these stock cars.
Yeah, for sure. He does have a little bit of stock car experience, making a couple starts in in the real world NASCAR Pinty series and had a load of fun. He's like, it's just like driving a really big go-kart. I mean, the car moves around and it's really back in the driver's hand. And when you get out of a sports car, I think he was racing the Porsche GT3 Cup cars at the time, and he got into one of those race cars, and he said it's just a great time. I was smiling ear to ear while behind the wheel of one of those cars. Now it looks like he's going to come down and make his stop.
Wow, look how aggressive Caden Lapsevich was on pit entry there. That's something else I've noticed here tonight. These guys really trying to take advantage of each and every second they can coming onto the pit lane.
Sure, every second. Why not to try to get that down to the speed at the very last second, try to make it a smooth stop and go through. And is Caden Lapsevich going to try to jump Daniel Morad there? There's Alex Ellis, who is now out in front of the field, who's also had an impressive run, a week ago at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, out front of the field now without any pressure from behind as pit stops continue to cycle through.
Yeah, we talk about drivers who started way back. Hard Charger candidate, no doubt, started 37th, did Alex Ellis, and now leading the race in that Wonder Bread number 39. But again, a little bit of damage to the nose of that car. He had it repaired during the pit stop during the competition caution, and it looks like he's now maybe leaned on a couple drivers as he makes his trek forward to the race lead, but having a very, very good day. Again, all the fenders still on that race car, and that's very, very important.
So it appears that Ellis may try and lead the pack here to this second competition caution of the evening. That will come anywhere between laps 28 and 30 here, as we are in the cycle of pit stops. And for just a moment there, before Morad and Caden Lapsevich made their pit stops, our top three cars were fulfilled by drivers that had started worse than 30th here tonight. So strategy really paying out, and drivers being aggressive really on display here tonight, as it looks like Ellis is going to stay on the racetrack here until we get to the competition yellow.
Yeah, a number of different strategies playing out, as we saw with Olivier Bedard, who made an early stop, then Trayton Lapsevich, followed by Caden Lapsevich and Daniel Morad. Alex Ellis remains out in front of the field. Is he going to wait and stay for that competition caution to try to lead the field back and then maybe make his pit stop afterwards? Again, will that work out track position-wise? Everyone else will have to make one more pit stop as well. It's going to make for a very entertaining final 10 or 12 laps of this race, and probably some more of the aggression that we've seen in the first 28 laps.
I should point out, too, that Alex Labay, who was so far back down in the mid-30s, is now up to 17th position. So your points leader is coming.
And your pole sitter, guys, back on pit lane here. Looks like Olivier Bedard, who took advantage of a quick repair as well, trying to take advantage of making a pit stop before that competition yellow comes out.
Bedard has now come out and saw Alex Labay come through there, but and Alex is just trying to minimize the damage, as we said earlier. There's Olivier Bedard, currently 16th after starting on the pole. How is his strategy going to play out? You got to believe he's still got to make one more pit stop before the end of this race for fuel and tires, and I don't know that the strategy is going to play for him.
He's got a very fast race car. We know that. We've seen it several different times during the course of this race. He's able to eat up ground and get forward, so if he can continue to do that, maybe he can gap, and maybe that can play in his favor.
Yeah, Bedard just came back out onto the racetrack, and it looks like we'll be coming up here on this second competition yellow of the night. But now Bedard has made the pit stop, and look at this aggressive move as we see Trayton Lapsevich come down the pit lane, and it looks like Trayton is going to try and do the same thing here, guys. Try to make that pit stop before the competition yellow.
This is the interesting finagling and trying to make the rules work to your advantage. Trayton Lapsevich made a pit stop just a few laps earlier, but now is trying to make another one. Will he be able to go the distance after making this pit stop on what is now lap 29? You've got to figure at least one more lap, a lap of yellow. Will he be able to stretch it? Will you be able to stretch all the way to the end if you stop now? That's a long way to go.
Yeah, but if you look at the leads that he's been able to build up, I mean, you can stretch that huge lead and then you can really back off and you can save a lot of fuel. You don't have to push your tires or anything. So that might actually be a pretty decent gamble.
I feel like, guys, we've reached that point in the race where the teacher says, okay, pencils down. And I have to tell you, I'm not sure that I know any more about pit strategy now than I did when we took the green flag tonight.
Yeah, and well, because we've seen such divergent strategies of everyone making multiple stops and not in an orderly fashion, with only sometimes a half a dozen laps maybe between pit stops, which seems unusual, but looking to see where the competition yellow is going to fall, it seems as though Trayton Lapsevich made the choice that, yes, if I come now, the strategy he's going to play is that he's going to be finished for the evening and try to run the rest of the distance. It's a long way, but it seems as though that's the strategy he's going to run.
And that competition yellow comes out right now, so the field will fall under the yellow flag here. Alex Ellis being shown as the race leader, and just as that competition yellow comes out, guys, Ellis hits the pit lane.
Is it going to be just in advance? Is it going to work out to him in his advantage? Did he get in just under the wire? Is it going to work out track position-wise for Alex Ellis? Or is he going to have to make another hard charge back all the way to the front before he has to relinquish his spot again? He's had a long night charging from the back. I don't think he wants to do it again.
Yeah, he's getting tired of passing race cars, I'm sure, or at least perfecting the art of doing it. But I'm pretty sure he did get into pit lane before that competition caution came out, because his work was done pretty much by the time the leaders came by the front straightaway. So it'll likely count, but I don't think anybody else is going to make a stop during this competition.
And that's it. How many yellow laps are we going to get here? Is it going to be one to gather up the field, then give them an opportunity to make pit stops? We may have 10 laps left to the end. That might be enough to get everyone to the end. If it's 10 laps and a dash to the finish, then that's probably enough on fuel and tires that everybody should be able to make it. It's going to be where you are track position-wise.
So we will keep an eye on the race leaders here. I believe everybody here that was running top 5 and inside the top 10 may come down pit lane to make pit stops there, except for Alex Ellis, who was able to sneak that one in there just before the competition yellow falls. But Justin Arsenault taking over the race lead here aboard car number 23.
And the interesting part will be to see who makes pit stops now during this competition caution, making their way down out of the hairpin down along the long straightaway towards the pit entrance. Which of the drivers up near the front of the field will make pit stops, if any? And it looks like we are going to have a few takers.
Yeah, you can see Caden Lapsevich, one of the Reinhardt cars, going in as well. So they will be making their scheduled stop during this competition caution. But look at all the cars that are staying out. So yeah, there's we talked about pit strategies and just who is going in a different direction. And it looks like you can, oh no, Caden Lapsevich is out on the racetrack. I thought I saw him ducking down pit lane, but I just saw him go by. So he's staying out in the 7th.
We did see Daniel Morad pit from the 2nd spot there as the field gathered up here under yellow. I think Morad was the highest placed car that made his way down the pit lane. So Morad making his final stop of the night. I see Michael Morley on pit lane, Alex LeBay all on pit lane as well. Fort Tires and Fuel here for this final stop of the night. And as we get ready to close in on the final 10 laps of this race, we will step aside and hear from these words from our great sponsors.
Tonight's race brought to you by Storewall.ca. Shop at Storewall.ca for all your garage storage needs. We import and sell premium wall-mounted slat wall storage solutions for home and business. Our complete line of products provides everything you need to efficiently organize and store items in home and commercial spaces. By Chez Gerard Patat, proud supporter of motorsports for the last 20 years. Gerard Patat wins the race for best fries, hot dogs, and poutine in Quebec. If you ever come by, make a pit stop. You won't regret it. By Stone Ridge. Let Stone Ridge Specialty Insurance protect your racing assets with liability and off-track coverage for race teams, sponsors, competition vehicles, tools, and equipment. Call Stone Ridge Specialty Insurance today. And by LaCroixTuning.com, proud titled sponsor of the Canadian Sim Racing Series. LaCroixTuning.com is the place to shop online for your wheel, suspension, and tire needs. We can even ship you tires mounted on new wheels right to your door.
Yellow flag pit stops complete here as we work lap number 31. We've got going to be about a 10-lap run to the finish here tonight from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here, round number 4 of the Canadian Sim Racing Series. And it will be very interesting to see how the rest of this race plays out, as the race leader currently being shown as the 23 of Justin Arsenault. Caden Lapsevich currently second. Blake Reinhardt is third. Will LaRue fourth. And we will see how the rest of this shakes out here with pit stops, which came here on lap number 30.
And be interesting to see how aggressive some of these drivers are with Trayton Lapsevich, who has made his stop, and who else is going to be aggressive in the end. Is it going to be Blake Reinhardt, who tries to push a little bit further forward? Justin Arsenault not really in the points fight, but Blake Reinhardt certainly is. How aggressive is he going to be in the last 10 laps of this race?
Should mention too, guys, the 35 of Adam Ross getting the free pass this time by, so he'll get back a lap that he was put down earlier on in this race. And of course, Adam racing with a heavy heart this weekend here. He lost his father this week, so our condolences to Adam Ross and his family here.
Absolutely, Dave. And you know what? Hats off to Adam for being in a position to take the wave around here. Like I said, I tried to race around this course myself just to get an idea of what this track was going to look like for this race tonight. It took me 6 or 7 tries just to get one clean lap down, and Adam's been running around here with these guys at speed tonight. Hats off to him on a great run here so far tonight. You guys were talking about Blake Reinhardt, who started off the series with a win earlier in this 5-race series. He won the opening round at Auto Club Speedway, had a solid run at Charlotte, but last week at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park is where the wheels kind of fell off the wagon for Blake Reinhardt. So this is a great opportunity for him here tonight, running in the second spot, coming back to green here for this final stage of the race.
And LeBay in 22nd, it's going to give somebody an opportunity to jump up in the points. Is it going to be Trayton Lapsevich, perhaps, who's going to restart 6th as they come to green and everybody gathers up and gets ready for this final restart? Or is it going to be someone like Blake Reinhardt who's going to take advantage as well? And Raphael Lessard has fallen back a little bit in this field after getting collected in some earlier troubles.
Yeah, for sure. But Todd, we talked about it. That 12 car has the preferred position for this restart. Going in on the outside of turn number 1, he'll be to the inside of turn number 2. As long as he can keep Arsenault honest on the inside, going through turn number 1, he stands to potentially take over the lead on this restart if he doesn't spin the tires. That'll be very, very important as soon as we see this green flag fly again.
And we don't want to see any of the troubles that we had at the initial start on this final restart as well, or that could shake things up even further as they come double file through the chicane and get ready for that green flag.
They will come down to the line to put lap number 32 in the books. Green lights are back on. Final stage is underway here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Who is going to win tonight? Here with the Canadian Sim Racing Series, guys, Trayton Lapsevich having a little bit of trouble there in the first 2 turns.
A little bit of trouble, but Caden Lapsevich looks like he had sights set on second place, taking over from Blake Reinhardt. That was a nice restart from Justin Arsenault, and Caden Lapsevich now really trying to push the issue and try to make his way forward.
Yeah, Justin Arsenault did exactly what he needed to do, and now he's able to open up a gap as Reinhardt and Lapsevich have been battling hard here for the second position. going side by side for a spell, now nose to tail with 32 of Trayton Lapsevich, and Caden gets all kinds of crossways under power, gathers it back up, but it's going to cost him at least.
Boy, that's a tough break for Caden Lapsevich. Looked to be in really good shape, but then just going through the back part of the course, the left, right, and just got a little bit sideways and had to get out of the gas. So now it's going to be Trayton Lapsevich. Can he run down Blake Reinhardt before setting sail and having sights on that first place runner? Trayton Lapsevich, we have seen, will have plenty of speed through the early part of this race. Now he's only got a few laps to do it to try to get back out in front of the field with a good run coming out of the hairpin, trying to draft up on Blake Reinhardt.
Lapsevich works on Reinhardt here, is trying to take over the 2 spot. They don't want to let Arsenault get much further away, as Daniel Morad taking... Look at this battle here between the brothers.
Oh, did you see the air that Blake Reinhardt got going through the chicane as well?
Both of them, the Lapsevich, Trayton Lapsevich did it too. Caden was the only one who didn't, and he was able to get by his younger brother in the 32. But wow, did they hammer those curbs hard.
And I think we're going to get a peek at it here as Brad Ovens and Spencer Mullen going to dial up the replay for us here to take a peek as you see Arsenault continue to try and drive away. 1.8 seconds was the advantage last time by across start-finish.
Yeah, that's a nice gap that Arsenault has built in front of the Lapsevich brothers. Here's the replay. First, it's Blake Reinhardt that gets the left side tires up, follows by Trayton Lapsevich, and Caden says, yeah, you know what? I'm going to try to keep all 4 on the asphalt going through here. I think that might work out better.
Oddly enough, it did. Who knew?
Wow, and they continue to battle. Look at these guys. That is a great battle from second on back. Caden Lapsevich gets the 2 spot away from Trayton Lapsevich and Reinhardt continue to try to stay close to the back bumper of that 32, and he's fallen into the clutches of Will LaRue, who's now in the top 5.
Time's going to run out for these Lapsevich brothers, though, to run down the leader if they keep battling amongst themselves. It would be best to just get in line and draft their way forward. Justin Arsenault has been perfect since the restart, got himself in good position to get through corners 1 and 2, and with the battling that's been going on behind him, has built a little bit of a lead ahead of both Trayton and Caden Lapsevich now. That is a nice lead, a comfortable lead for Justin Arsenault.
Yeah, he's doing everything he needs to do right now. He's not hammering those curbs too hard, not upsetting the car. I've seen him drive in a little bit deep, but nothing that can't be corrected back under acceleration. So definitely a good run late in the going here for Justin
Arsenault continues to lead. That last time he did gain a 1/10 of a second. And man, it is just a lot of fun here as we watch Olivier Bedard trying to crack into the top 5 here. Actually, he did. He is up into the 5th position, going after Blake Reinhardt here for 4th.
Little tail happy trying to squeeze his way through there, and it looks like Reinhardt is going to retake the spot as Olivier Bedard continues to try and move his way forward. There's plenty of pressure, and again, he's going to try and peek up the inside, but Reinhardt covers the space now as they go through towards the hairpin. This is a good battle between these two.
Now, there will be no surprise now because Reinhardt knows that the 96 is there, but Olivier Bedard is not going to give up easily in through the hairpin. This is where he's going to try and make...
Oh, that's a nice pass. That's a very nice pass by Olivier Bedard. Really smooth up the inside.
Bedard gets by Reinhardt, tried to come back at him in the following corner, could not make it happen. So Bedard is going to move up another spot here to 4th. As, guys, your leaders are hitting pit lane. Arsenault and the Lapsevich brothers. And now here comes Olivier Bedard down pit lane as well. Final pit stop of the night coming here with 7 to go.
This is going to be interesting to see who gets it done first. Will anyone take a chance? I don't know that anyone wants to take a chance in not doing 4 tires. I don't think that I would, but who's going to have the good service on pit road? Who's going to find their way out front first? And then we'll have the sprint to the finish.
I got to say, somebody running probably 10th back is going to take a splash of gas and go. They're going to say, I'm good with I know the tires wear out and everything happens, but you know what? You got to roll the dice here. If you know you don't have that track position to get up there, but you're confident, try and make it work. But it looks like Arsenault in and out. He did a flawless stop, which is great. Pit inside the box, no penalties, and away he goes. So Arsenault back out in top spot.
And guys, you just saw some strategy play out. Justin Arsenault took left side tires only. He took left sides. The Lapsevich boys took 4 tires from what we could see on pit lane. But Justin Arsenault lays his cards down here with 7 to go. 2 tires only.
I don't know if he was the one who had to really play strategy. He came in as your race leader. All he had to do was take 4, be clean, and
yeah, interesting strategy. But if you're out front and apparently has a good, comfortable way around this track, we'll see how it plays out. But that's an interesting move to only take lefts.
Going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. Wow! Look at that as Reinhardt very aggressively onto the pit lane. He comes into the pit lane as your race leader. Boy, Todd, that looked like he was awfully close to speeding on the entrance there.
And that's going to be the question, is did he get a good enough in-lap on the way in and get it slowed down in time before hitting the pit speed limiter? And now he's going to have to make his service clean. Will he have had a quick enough lap to gain any ground out on track as the drivers ahead of him all made their pit stops on the previous lap?
Yeah, check out this pit entry. Wow! In-lap traffic, no less.
Yeah, and he's
going to go for it.
I was going to say any strategy that he had to maintain the tires that he was running, probably out the window because they have nice big flat spots on them now.
So, guys, Daniel Morad, who has not pitted yet here, and we'll see if I assume he's going to have to make a pit stop just as everybody else has. But right now, he has cycled to the front of the pack. As you see, Raphael Lessard off course. There in the Mobil 1 sponsored for your driver that came into the night second in the point standings, just 4 markers out of the lead. And guys, I don't think that's the first time Lessard has had trouble here tonight, because he had fallen back all the way to 16th spot, currently being shown 25th as we continue to cycle pit stops.
Yeah, got caught up a little bit earlier in a bit of an incident involving some other cars and fell back further in the field. He had started 14th. He had climbed well into the top 10, running 7th or 8th, but got caught up in an earlier issue, now finds himself back again, and he might miss out on an opportunity to take advantage of a difficult night for Alex Labbe, the points leader coming into tonight's event. He may have just taken away his own opportunity to gain ground.
Take another look at what happened here, and yep, just a little bit too deep. Looks like a little bit too much back brake into it, and then it goes from one side to the next. A little tank slapper for the 4. Thankfully didn't hit anything, so not too much damage there, but lost a lot of track position, a lot of.
So tough break there for Lessard, who came into the night second in the standings. Now, inversely, Alex Labbe, who has now made his final pit stop of the night, had restarted Todd 22nd. He got up to 12th before that final pit stop, and that seems to be where he has cycled back out here after the pit stop. So Labbe, like you said earlier tonight, limit the damage here. It's not been the best night for them, but limit the damage and still try to take as many points out of here as you can tonight.
And give yourself an opportunity at the final event next week to still have a run for that championship. Nice work by Alex Labbe to try to get back up towards the top 10. Who knows if he can get another position or 2 in the late going. Maybe somebody makes an over-aggressive move and has some difficulty, but nice work for Alex Labbe to get up close to the top 10. I'm still waiting to see how long Daniel Morad's going to go before he makes a pit stop, or if he's planning on it with only 4 laps remaining. It's been an interesting night for Daniel Morad, climbing from way back at the start on, I believe it was 38th at the start for Daniel Morad, but now finds himself out front of the field.
And Morad is not coming down pit lane, stays on the racetrack. The other car just behind him, about 3 seconds back, guys, is Alex Ellis, currently running in position number 2. And it's going to be interesting. With only just less than 5 to go, I have to wonder if these guys are going to try and go the rest of the way here.
Or at least you can make a quick stop for a little splash right at the end, maybe 2 laps to go, who knows. But the 2 drivers who have passed the most cars coming to the front are now sitting nose to tail as Ellis has a little off there, does a little agricultural racing in the 39, cutting through the grass, but no harm, no foul, and he'll carry on. That was a little bit close.
But this is the difficulty in the late going with the tires that you've had on for a long period of time, and now feeling a little bit of pressure from Raphael Lessard, but he's had his difficulties as well. But Alex Ellis, having some older tires on that car, is now trying to nurse it towards the finish.
And these guys are about 13 seconds ahead of third place, 16 seconds ahead of Justin Arsenault, who was leading this race before pitting with 7 to go. And guys, you talk about the difference time-wise on pit lane. You've got about a difference last lap by of 8 seconds between Arsenault and Trayton Lapsevich. That's the difference in time between 2 and 4 tires on pit road.
I should mention, too, I saw the ticker across the top of the screen go by, and 36 of LeBay now inside the top 10. He was sitting 9th last time by, so the points leader continues to move forward.
And you get a good shot of LeBay there as he is running in the 8th spot. Just took away a spot there from Blake Reinhardt, I believe it was. So LeBay with a great recovery here aboard the 36, but Daniel Morad continues to lead here in car number 70. We've got 40 laps on the board. We've got 3 to go.
Now it's going to get interesting because Daniel Morad finds himself without a challenge from behind. He's just got to get that car to the finish line now. Don't worry about what's not behind you. Just focus on what's ahead of you. Hit the marks, drive smoothly, and find your way through the finish. Yes, I think pretty much would be giving Daniel Morad the hard charger award if he can bring this through towards the checkered flag in a lap and a half.
Drive like this is exactly why Right Choice Auto Sales came on board and said we got to give some sort of award to drivers who make their way up through the field like this. Daniel Morad starting 33rd here today and leads this race with just over a lap to go, or 2 laps to go, I should say, in that Moradness number 70. Just an inspired drive for the driver of that race car.
Alex Ellis, you think that he would have the hard charger going all the way up to second, but if Daniel Morad does it, boy, that's another one. That's another great drive for Alex Ellis. And as we saw last week at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, really knows his way around the road courses as well. And the young man is showing very well again here tonight.
Yeah, Ellis had to come out of the public qualifier last weekend that was run a bit earlier in the day from when our event was taking place at night, as we ride on board here with Daniel Morad. And guys, I'm just so, I mean, look at that. Look how much the rear end wants to come around here on Morad, but he's able to keep it in control and really make speed with it. I'm just so impressed with these drivers' skills tonight.
Yeah, sawing just a little bit there as he goes through the combination of corners. But again, coaxing that car to the finish. This is a very nice drive from Daniel Morad.
I don't think there's much front tire left there either, because the amount of steering input going in, and then you see the front end of the car just pushing into these turns. So I think there's probably going to be cords left to these tires, and that's...
And Morad really... Oh! Morad's off the track, guys. Your race leader with a problem. Here comes Alex Ellis behind him, and we've got a race for the lead. Morad shuts the door, and Ellis is upside down. Oh, my goodness.
Daniel Morad really squeezed him into the outside there. It looked like he had gone off and then was trying to come back, and as he recovered, Alex Ellis launched the challenge and got alongside Daniel Morad, and I don't know if he didn't know he was there or wasn't giving him room, but he really seemed to run him out to the outside part of the course and then had him flipping through the air.
Now, speaking of launching a challenge, he launched into the air after he caught the wall and had several barrel rolls down that little short chute, but The damage not too severe to the number 70 of Daniel Morad as he continues to be your race leader, now with a comfortable margin. There is Morad, and the mistake that he made, and Ellis will come up on the outside. There's the...
And just from that shot, the onboard shot of Daniel Morad, you don't get the peripheral view, so he may not have had any idea that Alex Ellis was alongside him. He was just trying to recover and get his car pointed back in the right direction to continue on with the race after he had that off and went into the grass. I don't know if he even saw that Alex Ellis was alongside him.
And you know somebody's going to probably come up and close the gap, so you want to get back in that racing line as quickly as possible to block their momentum. You don't want to hand them a position, and so maybe that's exactly what Daniel Morad was doing, trying to get there, and then didn't realize that Alex Ellis had closed that gap as quickly.
Well, he is working the final lap here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for Daniel Morad, trying to bring it home, guys, here for the win here tonight.
It has been an eventful race for Daniel Morad, but he finds himself out in front of the closing laps. No real challenge from behind for Justin Arsenault. He has him in his sights, but doesn't look like he's going to be able to get anywhere close to Morad as he comes through the hairpin for the final time and gets the launch out down the long straight, headed to the final couple of corners, and then the checkered flag that awaits him.
He's going to be on fumes. I'll be surprised if he can do donuts after this one, because this car will be on fumes by the time he crosses the start-finish line. But Daniel Morad, without a challenge from behind, now through the final.
And you can see it, guys. Look how much he has backed off the gas. Here, coming down the final straightaway, coming to the checkered flag, Daniel Morad stretches the fuel and wins here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And guys, he may have run out of gas already.
I don't think there's going to be a victory lap from Daniel Morad. I'm not sure he's got enough fuel to get to corner number one, as a matter of fact. But he did it, stretched it as far as he absolutely could, just enough to get the checkered flag in sight. I think that car may have hiccuped before he finally got to the checkered flag, but what a run for Daniel Morad.
Yeah, I think you're right. Oh, no, now it fired back up, and here's some donuts from your race winner. But wow, because he got a little bit loose off the final corner, at least twitched a little bit, looked like he was searching for that extra gallon of gas.
Wow, what a finish here, guys. And, you know, guys want to win so badly here on the Canadian Sim Racing Series. And our fans tonight, Todd, they were treated to an incredible finish here tonight.
Well, the finish was great. The first part of the race was great. We saw a demonstration by Trayton Lapsevich in the early going, and with the problems to Alex Ellis in the closing laps, he wound up third in the race. That's a nice boost in the points for him. So there was a lot of action throughout this entire 42-lap event.
Well, we'll take this opportunity here to get a word with your third-place finisher tonight, who's going to do himself a whole lot of justice here in the point standings tonight. Came into the night fifth in the standings, finishes third tonight. Trayton Lapsevich, great run to you, my friend. Doing yourself a whole lot of good in the points here tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a fun race. I was just looking at the standings there. It looks like we're going to gain a ton of points off this one. So, yeah, fun race. There was a lot of strategy involved, and me and Caden just we had a pretty good strategy, but obviously Daniel called the best one. So yeah, good points day though.
Was Trayton, was there thoughts on that last stop to take less than 4 tires? Maybe roll the dice, or were you comfortable enough that you thought, yeah, I can make?
We never really talked about it. We thought when Justin took no tires that we would be able to catch him, but we kind of came out in all the traffic, so that's what kind of did us over. But no tires obviously worked, and we'll keep that in mind if they do this.
Trayton, I was going to ask, is the choice of 4 tires was one thing, but I think the traffic, as much as anything, was what gave you a difficult time, and the way the strategy and the way you had the pit stops lined up, it just looked like you had trouble getting through all of the traffic to get back to the front. Yeah,
we came out in the thick of things because we when we exited the pits the lap we came out, we were mixed in with all the the cars that were near the back of the pack that took fuel only as well. So we had to deal with all that traffic, which inevitably lost us a shot at second and third.
It's a fun track, though, isn't it? Looks like you were having a ball out there.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I just bought the track a couple days ago when I saw we were coming here, but I'm definitely gonna run it a lot more. A lot of fun.
Trayton, take us under the helmet as we get ready to head to Atlanta for the series finale next weekend. Thoughts on Atlanta Motor Speedway?
I don't have a ton of experience at Atlanta either, but in the races I have run there, it's a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of strategy involved there too with tire conservation. There's always going to be that switch up of whether to take 2 or 4, like we had this race too. But it should be a lot of fun, and we're just going to see what we can do with the point.
Well, we know that it takes a whole lot of people to make this whole effort happen. Trayton, let us know about the folks that make it happen for the 32 machine.
Yeah, I got to thank Ace Services, RGC, RPM Race Parts, Reinhardt Auctions, and the local skate shop for all that they do.
Well, it was a great drive for you tonight. A great effort to come home on the podium here in third tonight. Congratulations on a great run.
Thank you.
All right, guys, there's Trayton Lapsevich, who comes home in position number 3 here tonight. We are working on getting a word here with Justin Arsenault and Daniel Morad. We are getting them into our communication bank as we speak. And guys, kind of take us through your reactions from tonight's race. Daniel Morad stretching it here to pick up the checkered flag.
It was obviously it proved to be the right strategy for Daniel Morad with just enough fuel to stretch it out, and his pit stop strategy worked out well. Maybe benefited a little bit by some of the difficulty that Trayton and Caden Lapsevich had with the lap traffic and the slower traffic when they cycled through in their pit stops. But Morad did it himself too, because he had a long way to go, starting well back in the field in 38th, and then finding his way forward, and then staying out of trouble as best he could. There was the challenge late from Alex Ellis after he had that little bit of a laid off, but did recover from it and did come up with the victory. Justin Arsenault also with a sensational run and really looked to have himself a good run, a nice run from Justin Arsenault to finish second.
And it looks like we're going to get a chance here to speak with your second place finisher here, Justin Arsenault, driver of the 23 car here tonight. And Justin, a great effort for you here to come home second. It looked like maybe you had the strategy that could have won this race tonight.
Yeah, it was an amazing race. I would like to thank my spotter, Paul. Yeah, if we pitted when the second yellow came out, I think we could have took the victory home. But yeah, it was a great race.
What is it about this track that promotes such great racing as well? We saw lots of battles throughout the entire field, Justin.
I think it promotes great racing because the track has a lot of hard braking zones, and it promotes hard passes.
Were you able to save your equipment over the course of this race to make sure that you had plenty of tires?
On the last pit stop, we only went for the left tires because they were slightly more used, so we gained a lot of time doing that. So it helped us a lot with the time range.
The hard braking promotes aggressive moves, but you still have to be cautious in your approach as you're making your way through this field, don't you? It can bite you as quickly as it benefits you.
Yeah, and the hard thing about these braking zones is if you outbrake yourself, you ruin your entire race. So you have to be really precise on your braking marks.
Did traffic play a role for you? Did you find it difficult to make your way back up through traffic?
It didn't for me because I was lucky with my my splits on the pit stops. I always had clear track. That helped me a lot in this race.
Well, Justin, it was a great effort for you to come home in second here tonight. Tell us about anybody else you'd like to thank, any marketing partners that helped you get the 23 machine home in second place here tonight.
I would like to thank iCar Experience for helping me get all my my sim material. I would also like to thank General Tires for sponsoring me for this season. I really appreciate it.
Great job here tonight, and we'll see you at the virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway next week.
Okay, thank you, guys.
All right, there it is, guys. Justin Arsenault coming home in position number 2 here tonight. still working on getting a word with your race winner tonight here, Daniel Morad. And if we get an update on Daniel's location, we'll try and get him in here to get a word with our race winner. And Dave and Todd, interesting words there from Justin Arsenault talking about, strategy, and they were really looking at what the tire wear was to be able to make that call late in the race.
Good for them, and that was a nice move that got them some extra position. And if it may have worked out as Justin mentioned, if he had stopped at the right time, then he thinks that he would have been in position for victory as well. But still, comes away with a terrific run and a terrific second place finish tonight.
And smart too, his strategy, as you mentioned, it allowed him to come out of the pits with a clear track ahead of him. As you heard Traden Lapsevich say, he got bottled up in traffic a couple of times there, and it really cost him a lot of time, a lot of track position, and a lot of wear and tear on his equipment. For somebody like Justin Arsenault, when you get released from your pit and you have a clear track ahead of you, definitely, it's much easier than having to fight through the pack of race cars.
It looks like we're joined here by Olivier Bedard, who finished in position number 5 here tonight after starting from the pole position. And Olivier, great job here tonight, coming home with a top 5. And, you really had a very busy race tonight, right from the drop of that green flag tonight.
Yeah, busy is the least we can say, I think. But happy with a top 5. Luck was on our side once again. I think in this series I've been a bit unlucky. We were running top 5 in the first race, and that was on me. I did a little mistake, touched the white line on the last lap, and then dropped back to Levant. And then we had some great pace at Charlotte. Great pace to be at least in the top 10, but then so many wrecks. I got involved in so and then last weekend we all know what happened at Mosport. Pace was there as well, strategy was there, but a bit unlucky with traffic. And then especially today, non-stop, I'd say. Our strategy was very different from the other guys, I reckon. I think because we were unlucky, I got involved in so many accidents at the start, but also in the middle of the race. I think that's why our strategy didn't play out so well.
You had your hands full a number of different times in this race, Olivier. There was it's always a challenge getting through those first couple of corners, and you got caught up in some difficulties there. But also, as you mentioned, a little bit later in the race as well, there was a little bit of trouble that probably cost you in the end.
Yeah, especially that when I was after the I don't remember which pit stop, but we're in the straightaway and there was some cars spun in the middle of the track. I couldn't avoid them, and so that probably cost us the most in that race, because it was by the end of the race. Strategy was very settled in, and Traden was able to pass, and from there it was even more difficult.
You seem to be able to go all out pretty much all the time. You had your missteps and your bad luck that you get involved in, but then once you got that car pointed in the right direction, you were wicked quick. Was there any thought to sort of backing off and saving anything, or was it just 110% every single turn?
No, at the beginning of the race, after the wreck at the start, I found myself in P4, if I'm not mistaken. And at this point, I had a lot of damage on the car. I didn't have the same top speed as before, so I didn't push. I didn't want to do mistakes. I kept calm, and I knew that with the strategy, we had a chance to get back from that first lap mayhem. But no, even with all those little incidents on the track and stuff, I always remain calm, and it's key in those races. The races are long. The strategy plays a lot in them. A lot of pit stops. So and even at the end, when I saw that the other guys weren't gonna pit, I just put my head down. I knew the car was fast. I knew I knew the track well, so I just kept the lap coming, and I was hoping for much better results, especially with the pole position, but top 5 it's all right. We'll take it.
Let us know about some of the folks that help make it happen, sponsors, anybody you'd like to mention here for this 5th place run tonight.
Yeah, I mean, like I said on my Facebook post a few weeks ago, I haven't had anything officially confirmed for this year. So instead of running a mock paint sham on my car, I decided to put all the sponsors, all the people, all the companies that helped me through my career. I'm coming from a middle-class family, so until by the end of karting, my parents couldn't afford anything racing, so I had to have the help from incredible people, very generous people, and running this car in this series was just a little way to say thank you to all of them.
Well, thank you very much for stopping by here and giving us a few words. Olivier Bedard finishing in position number 5 tonight, and it looks like we're going to get a chance to get a word here from your race winner tonight, Daniel Morad. Daniel, congratulations on a great run and pit strategy paying off here at the end.
Yeah, thanks so much. Man, it was what a race. I actually missed the start of the race. I had to start from pit lane because I guess the race was bumped up a little bit, and I was taking part in another endurance race with Race Sim Canada at CTMP. So I believe we finished P2 in that one, and had to jump over my teammate Matt Clark. He took over at the end of that other race. But man, what a race. It was so nice to join in. Thanks so much for having me, guys. But like I said, starting from pit lane, I was like, oh man, this sucks. But I knew I had the pace. I haven't done too many laps around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, but I know the car pretty well. I was robbed a little bit in the CTMP Victoria Speed Fest race that was on TSN, but that was my own fault. I didn't plug in my USB in the right place, so my steering wheel shut off. This one was great redemption. At the end, obviously, I didn't want it to end the way it did with Alex Ellis, one of my really good friends. I was really trying to save fuel, and I had to, really fight to stay on my fuel number, but at the same time, keep the gap. So, man, it was so hard. I had my Twitch chat just guiding me through. I was on my fuel numbers page. They were giving me the gaps to the cars behind. It was just an amazing team effort. I have to thank my Twitch chat on Moradness. And yeah, man, at the end, I had an off track and just didn't get my reference right when I was trying to save fuel and adjust my lift off. So yeah, unfortunate for Alex. He tried squeezing around the outside. We had a little net code. I actually reviewed the incident because I felt really bad for him. And listen, at the end of the day, it's a game. It's a lot of fun. I know he's a little bit upset, but listen, at the end of the day, we're not saving lives. It was so much fun. Thanks to everyone involved in this, and really a pleasure to be part of it.
Yeah, it looked like you were having fun, especially charging from the back to the front, Daniel. But I wasn't sure if you knew that Alex was alongside you as you were trying to recover. Did you even know he was there and got squeezed?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I don't want to give the race car driver excuse book over here, but I'm going to read from chapter 3. No, so I explained this to Alex. We were in my own Discord, and he was upset, and I felt really guilty at the beginning. And we reviewed the incident more and more, and I watched it from so many different angles. You can clearly hear that there's space for him to go around the outside after I made that mistake. And listen, it was on me. I had to re-enter the track safely, and I tried my best. And I mean, you guys know how it is with this amount of power and tires that did a stint and a half. Man, it was really tough after I got back on track to accelerate, and I tried keeping it in a dead straight line, and he was squeezing around the outside. If I was him, I probably would have cut to the inside. But listen, it was a split-second decision that he had to make. And my VR chat for my Twitch was blocking my virtual rear view camera, or my rear view mirror. And I don't want to say that's an excuse, but I literally did not know how close he actually was. Otherwise, I would have pulled over more to the left to allow him, more room. But at the end of the day, it didn't really matter because we had a little bit of contact as he was trying to go around the outside. And listen, it's unfortunate. It was an ugly-ish way to end, but we had the field covered with that strategy. And man, it was just a seat of the pants strategy call. And I could not believe other people did not pit with me because the yellow came one lap later than it should have. So I was like, man, I'm going to win this race by a long way. Like, nobody can make it on fuel. So I literally just took it easy. I was lifting and coasting, saving fuel as much as I could. So I had a little bit of reserve to push at the end. And yeah, I mean, we had about 0.7 of a liter crossing the line, had enough to do some victory donuts. And listen, it was a great night.
Daniel, congratulations on the victory here. We've got our friends down the hallway here from the French broadcast team. Tags wants to talk to you, so we've got to shuffle you to our French broadcast, but we wanted to thank you for stopping in here, and congratulations on a big win.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate all that you guys are doing, and hopefully we can get back to the real track soon. And I want to be in a NASCAR Pinty Series car again. It's so much fun. I had.
Well, guys, there goes Daniel Morad, your race winner, and man, he is a lot of fun to talk to. What a run for him tonight.
Yeah, it was a terrific run for Daniel Morad, and I'm sure that we can probably find a number of people that would be willing to put Daniel Morad in a NASCAR Pinty Series car when we do get back out on track, because it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is he can potentially win in one of those cars. He's that comfortable, and he loves it. He's done it before, and he says, "Man, yeah, it's a good time." You heard him talking about it, and he says, "I think it would be exciting to see him going around CTMP in one of these things."
So, guys, we wrap up here tonight from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and we head to the Atlanta Motor Speedway next weekend. Now, we go back to an oval track to wrap it up, but I mean, Atlanta is just one of those tracks that is just so interesting to watch a race because of how quickly that track eats up tires. I mean, what a way to finish this 5-race series out next weekend.
Who's going to have the car control? Who's going to be able to hang on? Who might make a bold call for only 2 tires late in the race? We're going to have a tight points battle with Trayton Lapsovich gaining a little bit of ground. We had Alex Levay lose a little bit of ground. Should be a great round 5.
And you know what? There will be scores to be settled as well. There may be a lot of angry people after this race. A lot of incidents happened. A lot of incidents happened at CTMP as well. So one last shot at it, and potentially some tempers will.
So taking a look at the final rundown here, your top 10 finishers here tonight was Daniel Morad, who came home as the race winner with great strategy call at the end. He was also the Right Choice Auto Sales hard charger of the race. Started in 33rd position officially tonight. Plus 32 to pick up the big win here. Justin Arsenault comes home in the 2nd position. Trayton Lapsovich 3rd. His brother Caden Lapsovich comes home in position number 4. Olivier Bedard, who we spoke to here just a moment ago, rounds out the top 5. Then it was Alex Ellis, who was in contention for the race win late in that event. Guys, what a recovery for Alex Levay, who is back as far as 22nd position on a late race restart here tonight. Comes home with a top 10 to salvage a whole lot of points in this tight points race. Tom Senchek comes home in 8th. Will LaRue comes home 9th. Stayed inside the top 10 all night long aboard the 55. And Danny Cowett in the 129 will officially be scored in position number 10 with a solid top 10 effort. Guys, we're down to less than a minute here. Todd, any other reactions before we head to Atlanta next weekend?
Yeah, a tough night for Rafael Lessard, who finished well back after some troubles in the field. That's a tough break for him. We thought it might be a nice seat to see him going for the points championship in the final weekend, but doesn't look like that will necessarily be the case.
But the road course races did not disappoint. We knew stock cars turning left and right were going to be exciting, and they definitely did, both at CTMP and here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Back on the ovals now, so a lot more drivers will be more comfortable and be in their zone. So it'll be a completely different page, and it'll be exciting once again.
Be sure to visit us on CanadianSimRacingSeries.com and Canadian Sim Racing Series here on Facebook. From Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, this is Steve Ovens, Dave Bradley, and Todd Lewis saying thank you for joining us and good night.
Introducing GeForce TV. GeForceTV.net is your new source for action overload. Featuring free live programming year-round and countless hours of on-demand video, GeForce TV will be your first stop whenever you want to see the latest and hottest racing action. See live Friday Night Excitement weekly from Washouican Speedway, and watch the stars of tomorrow make a name for themselves during Thursday night's live microsprint racing. GeForce TV is also the new home for Rivals Race Chat. Watch weekly as Clinton Jeffrey and Adam Ross discuss all the hot topics in the world of motorsports. For iRacing fans, GeForce TV has you covered with hours of live broadcasting from Rivals and GeForce TV racing leagues. GeForce TV promises to deliver motorsports, esports, and action sports you want to see, along with talk shows and vlogs to keep you connected to the lifestyle you love. Visit GeForceTV.net today to subscribe for free. Sit back, hold on, and feel the G's on GeForce TV.